Hey, blessings, everybody. Peace to you. Hope you're doing well this morning, wherever you are. Maybe the afternoon. Just want to just stop in just to check in with you and also allow you to check in with me. And we just encourage one another on the Shame Free Life channel. Also, if you could do me a huge favor, I'm going to leave a link in the description box, and if you care to go to my podcast and just check out several podcasts that I've dropped, audio podcasts, you're definitely welcome to do that and share the podcast with your family, your friends, and also, if you haven't already, just like this channel if you can, and also share the contents of this channel. Hit that bell that's located there, and you'll get notifications immediately whenever I do go live, whenever I do upload a video. So let's just get right to it. I want to talk to you about the hardest job that you will ever work. The hardest job that you will ever work. And when we talk about jobs um, and the magnitude of them being hard, I mean, you could talk about warehouse work, you could talk about construction work, fishermen. Now, that's a hard job. Welding, especially underwater welding, can be very difficult. You may have an office job. You say, well, listen, time. Um, I don't work a blue collar job. I work a white collar job, and it is hell where I work. Not just the job and the demands and the responsibilities of that job, but what I have to endure with the administration, with the staff, with company policy, with all of the gaslighting that takes place and the glass ceiling that will not allow me to advance when I know that I'm qualified to advance. Well, those are problems as well. That's hardships on that particular job. But I want to talk to you about another type of job that will be the very hardest job that you will ever work. And that job is working on ourselves. You know, I was I was up early this morning, and one of the things that I did I looked at an article that was given a timeline of the life of Taraji P Henson, and I never knew about Taraji P Henson until I saw her in the movie that the late and great John Singleton directed and produced, Baby Boy, that starred Tyrese Gibson and um, and other stars that were in that particular movie. And that's when I first noticed who Taraji P Henson was, and of course, she began to blow up from there. But this particular article talked about her life growing up uh, and her falling in love with her high school sweetheart. He was senseless murdered, um, and it left her destitute. She couldn't break that, and I can understand why. They also had a baby boy at that time, and she needed to safeguard him from learning about the death of his father and the senseless killing, the senseless murder that took place. And in so doing, it created a rift as he began to age, her son. Uh, and why didn't you tell me about this? And so that created a lot of conflict in their relationship. All the while, she was working jobs in the entertainment industry in Hollywood. So while she was on the silver screen, while she was on television, appearing before millions and appearing to have it all together in front of the camera, aside from the camera, she was falling apart. She was falling apart because of grief and loss. She was falling apart because of trauma. And she was falling apart because of now the the distance or the disconnect that have taken place in her relationship with her only child, her son, and also dealing with the loss and the grief and the trauma, or maybe perhaps a sense of betrayal. You should have told me this. Why didn't you tell me? Not understanding that at the time she felt that she had to do what she had to do. And oftentimes we do make decisions. We don't have manuals before us. We don't have any blueprints or templates. We don't have anyone to coach us. We oftentimes instinctively make certain moves and make certain choices and decisions based on what we feel is in the best interest at that time. Sometimes we make good decisions, other times we do not. We learn from it, we keep it moving. But the hardest job that Taraji P. Henson had to work was not dealing with Hollywood and perhaps some of the things that she had to deal with that this article didn't cover in Hollywood. But the hardest job was her saying, you know what? I'm going to deal with this situation and I'm going to counseling to work on me and to work on my son. We're going to counseling together. I never knew this about her. And it just made me look at her differently in every honorable and respectful sense. But it also makes me look at how we can just glean from this and take this as a teachable moment for our own lives. Look, regardless of what your status is, your economic status, your educational status, whatever the case may be, we all go through things. You know, I think that Jesus, Yeshua, made it very clear that in this life you're going to have tribulations, but be of good courage because I've overcome. And now I'm going to give you the insight and the power and the wisdom to do likewise. Job said that a man born of woman is of a few days, but full of trouble. And the hardest job is understanding that in the midst of what I'm going through, in the midst of the injustice, in the midst of given a raw deal, in the midst of the trauma or whatever it is that I'm facing, the hardest job is not what's happening to me. The hardest job is dealing with what is happening in me. And oftentimes, when we are in a situation that is bitter, we become likewise. When we find ourselves involved in a hell of a situation, oftentimes we will exhibit those hell of a qualities before other people. When we're in a very hard place, a very jagged place that rips our soul, it takes sleep and rest from us. Oftentimes, in our behavior pattern and in our conduct, we become very hard and cold and jagged. Though that may not be your true nature, you may be as tender as a rose. But because of the situation that you find yourself in, or the situation that you were thrusted in, you no longer become that tender rose petal, but rather you become the jagged thorn that is attached to the rose petal. You know, in going through certain things, you know, and one of the things that I've come to realize, and some of the things that I have gone through, some of the things that I am currently going through, um, the word just comes back to me and really tests me. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is check your attitude. Um, I mean, real talk, when you're going through something, the last thing that you're thinking about is working on your attitude. But the attitude comes secondly. The first thing is my self-image or your self-image. Oftentimes, when you're going through something that's hard, something that's challenging, something that is demeaning, your self-image will take a blow. It will take a hit. Oftentimes, people self-image becomes injured because of the injury that they sustain from the event, from the trauma. So, our self-image, how do you see yourself after the foreclosure? How do you see yourself after being turned down from a job that you know that you qualify? How do you see yourself after receiving a negative comment about you from somebody that you entrusted with all of your information, talking about you behind your back? How do you feel about your self-image? What does your self-image look like um, when you're up against injustice and it's knocking on your door, beating on your door, and you've got to respond, you've got to answer it because it's there for you. Oftentimes, we see ourselves as just being victims. We see ourselves as being less than. We see ourselves, just like the Israelites, just using a scripture reference, the Israelites, when they were given the promised land from the Most High, and they went to spy out the promised land. They saw the giants that were in the land, the descendants from the fallen angels, and they said, we are like grasshoppers in their eyes. They couldn't see themselves as being giants in their own right, that they were chosen by God, the Most High, to be the light of the entire planet. They were chosen by God, the Most High, that through the very lineage of the Israelites, that not only King David would be born, and all of the other great patriarchs and matriarchs and prophets and messengers, but even the Son of God, the Most High, Yeshua, would be born, Jesus, from the very lineage of the Israelites. They didn't understand, nor could they see that they were giants in their own right. Many of you are giants. You are giants in your own right. But because of the situation that you find yourself in, or it could be a past situation that's still haunting you, haunting the house of your mind, you see yourself as your past. You see yourself as being small. You see yourself as being insignificant. So, in the midst of what we're going through, the self-image gets a hit or takes a blow that we're going to have to repair in the midst of whatever you're going through, or if you've come out of it, to repair our self-image. Now, secondly, going back to the attitude, what is our attitude in the midst of what we're going through? I'm not going to lie to you. I have been going through some things, and we'll talk about it later, that have really been challenging. All of this that I'm talking about, what qualifies me to be a trauma recovery coach? And what qualifies me to be a crisis interventionist? What qualifies me to do what I do in helping others is not just the academia that I get from a university. The academia is wonderful. The academia, it proves that you have gone through the ranks uh, from a scholastic standpoint to have the training that qualifies you to be a spokesman, a certified spokesman concerning what your genre is. But you can go through all of the semantics to get a certification, a certificate, a diploma on your wall, but not have the heart for the people, not have a heart to help people, but you see them as nothing more than dollar signs. You see them as nothing more than just another number in and out of your office or teleconference. You don't see them as being damaged souls that the Most High God have made with a purpose in mind, and they are giants in their own right. They haven't come to the revelation of that yet. What qualifies me is life's experiences and how it challenges me even now on a day-to-day basis. So oftentimes my attitude, if it's been brought to me by revelation, the Lord Most High Himself has said, you know what, your attitude, check your attitude. Let's talk about this. Let's just talk about it. And oftentimes it's easy for us to, to strike out, to lash out, to become that thorn or thistle as opposed to that tender rose, because we're not going through a tender moment. We're going through a jagged moment. And so therefore, I'm going to fight fire with fire. But changing in the midst of whatever is going through is the most important thing, because it means that no matter what you do to me or think that you do to me, no matter how much drama that you bring into my life, hardship that you have thrusted upon me, no matter what evil that you bring my way, yeah, I see it for what it is, but I refuse to allow what you do to me to change who I am. I'm not going to allow outside forces to have such weightiness in my life, to have so much authority and liberty in my life, that it makes decisions for me as opposed to me making decisions that's in my best interest while I am in the midst of this thing. So understanding our self-image or changing it, understanding our attitude and changing it in the midst of things. Also understanding a lack of discipline. I commend Sister Taraji B. Henson because she said, you know what, I'm in a situation and I don't like it. I'm going to take action. I'm not going to sit back and allow certain things to happen. See, one of the things about church folk is what's really amazing to me. We church folk want to sit back and just pray and just, Lord, I need you to do this. Lord, I need you to do that. And he even said in his word, he said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open unto you. Whatsoever things that you pray, believe that you receive it and you shall have it. All of those promises, all of those scriptural and biblical declarations, understand that. But also the scripture said that let every man or woman be persuaded in his own mind. The word also says to work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So the word challenges us to do something. Even James says that faith without works is dead. Now you show me your faith without your works, I'll show you my faith by my works. So waiting on God to do something that he has called and has empowered us to do, it ain't gonna work. Just relying on works and not relying on God's grace, the Most High's grace, it's not going to work. There must be balance between understanding where God's grace ends and our work begins, and they marry one another in holy matrimony to change our mind. And so Taraji P. Henson, back to her, she said, I'm going to take action. I ain't going out like this. I need to get to a much better place from a mental health standpoint. And so does my son. We deserve better. Why? Because I understand my self image. It's not what I've gone through, it's more than what I've experienced. I'm going to change my attitude of being the victim, sitting back and just watching life pass me by. No, I'm going to participate in life. And her taking the third component and applied it. I'm going to apply some discipline. If I can get up early in the morning and go over my script, if I can get my practice in, if I can go to the gym and work out, if I can just hone my craft of acting, my acting skills, and work overtime, in between time, going beyond time for Hollywood, then how much more can I apply the same level of discipline concerning my own mental and emotional health well-being and to repair my family at the same time, i.e., my son and my relationship? Discipline. Oftentimes we're asking for God to do something, but He's waiting for us to acquire discipline. We have discipline when it comes to searching, going through Facebook, posting after posting after posting after posting. My God, when does this cat work? Does he work? Does she work? All around all they do is post. We have discipline concerning certain things that we do. Watching TV, hour after hour after hour after hour. Responding to the latest trend. Hey, have you heard about, of the milk crate challenge and jumping out of the car while it's moving and start dancing challenge? The hot water, throwing hot water on your challenge, cold water on your challenge, especially us as Black people. Man, we into the most challenges. We sometimes we just do the most. But the greatest challenge, the most important challenge, we don't participate in. And that is working on ourselves concerning the trauma that have happened to us. Not just the trauma that have happened to us hundreds of years ago that's unaddressed. The traumas that's happened to us since then. Working on ourselves. That acquires courage. That acquires discipline, self-control. I'm going to discipline myself. And if my people around me are not really feeling what I'm doing, then hey, look, there's the door. Because I'm working on me. And if I'm as important as you say that I am in your life, then you will have an understanding that I'm working on me. You need to work on you too. So that brings us to the fourth thing of understanding or mastering when we're in the midst of something, when we're in the midst of going through something. And that is discernment. Discernment is nothing more than being able to distinguish between something. It's having proper judgment. And oftentimes when we go through trauma after trauma after trauma, it will dull our discernment. Discernment between what is right and what is wrong. Discernment between, this is good for me, that's kind of questionable for me. Discernment is off. Our discernment must be sharpened. And yes, we know that discernment, it can be sharpened through meditation, through prayer, certainly through the word of the Most High, become sharpened. Just quiet time. Something that oftentimes as people we don't like to institute quiet time. It bothers us when things are too quiet. Why is that? Because we are alone with ourselves. We are alone with our thoughts. What is going on the inside during quiet time? also during quiet time is a perfect time for our Creator, the Most High, to speak to us because social media and the television or the gossip that's going on and other foolishness doesn't have our attention, is no longer divided. Discernment, being able to rightly discern. I need this in my life. I don't need that. I need to be about this right here, not that. Okay, that right there, something's wrong with that. This right here, okay, I never saw that before. Being able to spiritually, being able to emotionally see and separate and properly analyze what is good for you, what is not, what is before you, being able to see things as they are and not how they appear. Discernment. And lastly, or number five, we're going back to self again, but not self-image, self-care. How many of us are engaging in self-care? I mean, really self-care, taking care of ourselves in the midst of whatever you're going through. Every day something's being pushed out there. Every day there's some bad news. Every day, it is something that's popping off. In the midst of what you may be going through or have come out of, how are you taking care of yourself? Going to purchase another red bottom pair of shoes is not helping you. Buying new Jordans is not helping you. That's not self care. Going to the mall, going on spending sprees is not self care. Self care is taking care of you here, taking care of you here, and taking care of you holistically. Be it eating better, cleaning up our diet, working out, training, relieving the stress, removing the toxins from our bodies. Start reading things that are beneficial, psychologically and spiritually beneficial. Far be it to remove the bad food from our lives, the physical food, but continue to indulge in and gorge on the unhealthy emotional food and mental food. No, a complete holistic detox. It may be some friends and family members or whatnot. I'm going on a detox. I've got to disconnect from you. I'm about seriousness and becoming a better me despite what happened. You are about trying to escape what happened. I want to be a better version of me. You want to continue to be the worst version of you. Can two walk together except they agree? No, we cannot be in agreement. I'm going in one direction, you're going in another. So I need to do what I need to do for me. Self care, taking care of yourself spiritually, taking care of yourself psychologically. There are support groups that are out there. Contact the Shame Free Life. We're here. There are so many different connections that are outside of your box that you've placed that we oftentimes will place ourselves in, that are there to help us walk through life and rebuild our lives one brick at a time. Connecting to healthy things, listening to healthy things. So these are the things that I have discovered that I'm using concerning myself, sharing them with you. And again, uh, definitely check out my podcast. I'm going to leave all that information in the link, and just go to the website. That's theshamefreelife.com. Theshamefreelife.com. See what we are about. We are about helping people recover from trauma. We are about crisis intervention. We are about helping people overcome what was done to them, uh, to see themselves not as being victims, but as holding the key to victory. And oftentimes we don't even understand that we have the key to unlock our own jail cell to walk out into freedom. It's in nobody else's hands but ours. So until next time, peace and blessings. Love you to life. Love you to life. And just remember that your life begins when you say so. Talk to you later. Peace, fam.